Mate, I have been diving headlong into God bullies lately. Yeah, one thing that really struck me across both apologies, oh god damn it, Kill the King and War on Everybody was the use of samples. What was your kind of favorite uh places to kind of dig these things up from?
Pretty much thrift stores. We for like first 4, 5, 6 years of Bullies, we lived in a van pretty much and going town to town. And the first thing we'd go is thrift stores and go through all the records, and especially like religious LPs. And David Livingstone and I kind of collected them. I have probably too many of them, and they're just we'd find the best of them and sample them. I don't know if you've heard Plastic Eye Miracle, but there's a really good sample about a preacher that loses one eyeball, gets caught in a baling wire, and he can no longer see out of his left eye. And then, but later in the album, he starts reading like driver's licenses with his, at church with his, one eye. He has his feet he can do now. So I mean, that one, I think his name was Ronald Cohn, but a lot of them are preachers. There's a couple local guys that we found some cassette tapes like that were thrown away. The Godfather Goes to Arkansas. That's a sample from some thrown away cassette that Mike Corso found. And It's Him, It's Him. That's a local guy, kind of a crazy guy. He's in and out of the Kalamazoo had a huge mental institution for a while. And then in the late 80s, they decided to close all the mental institutions and let the people live on the street pretty much in halfway houses. So, and those people are kind of our people. They're hanging around the same areas that we were hanging around with. And we did a play called Wojciech. It's by Alvin Berg. It was written like 1850, and we kind of made it into a rock opera. And this guy Bruce White just kind of would hang around the play the whole time. And so we sampled a lot of his stuff. That it's him on you Huskies. It's him. That's Bruce White. Wear your big crocodiles. It's book report time, kids. That's Bruce White. But yeah, he was like a local kind of poet in Kalamazoo at the time when we were living there. So it's
It is
just found
amazing.
stuff.
Yeah, it is amazing how like mental health, and people suffering from mental health episodes can influence some music that can end up like becoming quite big. Like you know, uh, Slipknot, it came out when I was, in high school, and their track "Eyeless," the refrain, "You can't see California without Marlon Brando's eyes," is literally was from a schizophrenic guy just screaming that while walking down the street, and they were like, "I love it."
Well, on War. Did you say you listened to War on Everybody?
Yes, yes, and
There's a song
Kill the King.
called there's a song on there called oh gosh, what it's like tell Detroit to suck the cream off a purple German pussy, boysenberry yogurt whipped circles and all. Can you dig it? And that I didn't write that. That was written by one of those people, just like you mentioned, a kind of a street person. He's called Acid Dave, for obvious reasons, and and he was so cool. I mean, he was like about 6'4", walked around wearing women's dresses, and didn't give a shit about anything. But definitely out there. I mean, some of these people are kind of borderline, So, but we all, I think, are borderline to a certain extent. I mean, it's a mad fucking world we're living in. It's crazy, and you can see why people go crazy. I mean, it's fucking nuts out here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone, yeah, particularly people, at a certain stage of their drug consumption, they're like, we're teetering on the edge of, Hunter S. Thompson in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and being locked up.
Uh, well, maybe we are, but if you look at the big picture, I think we're somewhere between Fahrenheit 451, 1984, and Brave New World, kind of all three of them together right now. At least here in America, it's become a Brave New World with John the Savage running around crazy, trying to find himself, and while they're burning all the fucking books all at once. Yeah. And let's not go into any Orwellian implications of our current society, because George couldn't have said it better.
I've literally just started rereading 1984 in the
Yeah,
last week or so, and I'm about three chapters in, and holy shit, it's
yeah,
scary. Like the whole concept of, the 2 minutes hate, where they're all sitting there and, banging their chairs on the floor and throwing things at the screen, and I'm like, now I'm just seeing, a bunch of people like that. That's basically Twitter now.
right,
You know,
yeah. Oh, right, right. In about 84, it turns into this love story, and then the love. It's a really good book. But Orwell, man, his father was like a social servant for his whole life. He lived in India as a social servant. A son of a social servant. So he was pretty much I mean, if you look at his life, you could see why he wrote 1984. I mean, it's very much written from the eyes of someone that's been inside big government, or to a certain extent. Yeah.
yeah. How do you look, going back to the start? How would you describe the musical landscape in Kalamazoo
At the time we were there, or now?
at the time? At the time you were there.
At the time we were there, it was just fantastic. It was like, what was it, 80, 80, about, well, 80, 82 through 87, 88. And it was just all bands, tons of bands, everyone playing. Great, all these clubs everyone could play at. David wasn't in the David Livingstone was in a band called Buddy Epson's Cuticle. And when we started God Bullies, and he kind of merged over to us, and he was just kind of like a two-piece noise band. David couldn't even play guitar, but just make noise with the guitar, not even face the audience, just work the guitar into the feedback and with the drummer. And for some reason, I thought he was just, that's the guitar player I want. And I was so fortunate to meet him, and we worked together for 30 years. Yeah, till
Mm.
he recently passed away. So yeah, it's
Well,
tough.
I was going to get into that later, but if we bring it up, we'll do it now. Like you lost Dave and Johnny within a year of each other. That must have been unimaginably hard.
Oh man, it was just so hard because both of them I was really, really close with as far as all band members I've been in. Johnny loved the Detroit Tigers and Detroit Lions and sports, and he could talk. If you're driving from like Chicago to Minneapolis, he could talk the whole way about the Tigers' new roster, how the Lions are going to do, or I mean, he brought different stuff. Just he was really close friend, and he started this whole thing that got us what we're doing right now, because we're going to do a God Bully 30-year reunion show of Hung Like God. And so Johnny got Scott together with Cliff. We all played on that record, and then we started rehearsing to do a reunion show in Detroit. And Johnny just suddenly, Scott let Johnny use his house for a weekend when he was out of town, and he passed away in Scott's house. Misadventure. He's doing something he probably shouldn't have been doing, or I don't know. I mean, it's not I'm sure people. It's so hard to say how that happens or why it happens, but I'm sure Johnny didn't expect it to happen.
Mm.
And anyway, so Johnny passed away in Scott's house, and that's where we rehearse right now. We're always fucking with Scott, putting stuff in there, and he's like, "Hey, how did this get in my house?" And and we move stuff around on him because he thinks Johnny's still there. So, he's like, one time I was in his bedroom, and he has it like a shotgun that was under the bed, and I pushed it all the way to the other side. And he was like cleaning under the bed, and he noticed his shotgun wasn't there. And it's like, who would do something like that? It's like, then we put religious icons like in the bathroom, and he doesn't know where they come from, or so he'll ask us, and of course the whole band like, I don't know, Scott, I didn't bring it, So we fuck with Scott Kodrick quite a bit. He's a guitar player from Thrall, and he was in Brainsaw with me, and I've known him about as long as I've known David, but he gets a lot of practical jokes pulled on him. So.
A fun one. If you want him to think that the ghost is still in the house, fog up the mirror a lot in the bathroom and write some messages, and then let the steam clear. And next time the steam comes up, it'll be like, ah!
Hey, every idea, that's a good one. We'll try it. It just keeps them alive. But yeah, so so then he passed away, and we're stuck like, oh shit, and so I called David up from we were in They Never Sleep Together was the last project we work on, and he was more than happy to jump in and start jamming again. And we started doing this project called Pig Harvest with David, and two of the songs on this record are from those sessions, and we have a couple other ones where David put total guitars on that we're working to get my vocals over and see if we can do something with that. But and then we were about a year and a half into that. We started recording. I actually recorded 2 songs, and then David goes to a chiropractor because his back hurts and fucking dies in the goddamn waiting room. I was supposed to put some tracks down with him on Saturday. He passed away Friday evening. I called Saturday to see what time he wants me to come over to put the vocals down, and his beautiful, wife Michelle said, David's no longer with us. It's just like my mouth, just that hit really hard because Livingstone was just a monster. I mean, he was a fucking genius. He did Your Flesh, he's editor Your Flesh. He recorded The Cows, I think once or twice. He did he recorded all the God Bullies early stuff up until Kill the King. And then he recorded They Never Sleep. I just seen him progress from, like I said, first time I saw him, he couldn't even face the audience. He was just playing feedback to become a killer ass songwriter, so. But yeah, so when David passed, we had these songs that we had written with him. And we're like, should we do Thrall? Should we do God Bullies? Should we do Thrall? I mean, what are we going to do? And we did a mini tour of the Midwest, like Dubuque, Chicago, Kalamazoo, and we played all God Bully songs as Thrall. And then we asked the audience in Dubuque, because it's one of our biggest audiences, what should we do with this? God Bullies or Thrall? And everyone said, Mike, do God Bullies, do God Bullies. So, basically these band members have been in God Bullies with me, with David. Johnny toured with the Bullies on the 2011 reunion tour up in Minneapolis with it was like with the Thrown Ups and the Melvins. It was a pretty big show, and yeah, so we kind of all got together and thought the fans wanted it. I really wanted to do like a memoriam album for David, especially because he wrote a couple of these songs. I want to get like how much I just want to put a thank you album out that said, thank you for being, a friend and friend for life. And same with Johnny. So, that's how this album came around. And of course, just how America has just turned into like 72 million Americans, voted for Donald Trump, which basically means there's 72 million racists, in your neighbor, about 1 out of every 2 white people in America, are fucking racist. And, I don't really get in politics too much, but when you think of that, like the mentality of a person that would even have anything to do with that type of mind thought, it almost like who are your fucking neighbors? Who can you depend on? Who can you count on? And that's more than anything is 72 million people voted for that guy. Man. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? So for 10 years, we've been living in that shadow. And of course, this is what we were telling about it, this cult-like mentality that was coming to America. I mean, through the first 3 or 4 albums, I mean, we did a pretty good job of picking on the religious right, saying, they want to do this to us. And by God, they did it. Yeah. So now it's fighting back time.
You mentioned a band called Brainsore. That name rings a bell. Did that involve Matt McDonough?
No, just it was pretty much Thrall, Karen Neal, Johnny, Scott, and I, and Nick, the drummer. So
okay, yeah, because the drummer from Mudvayne mentioned when someone was interviewing that he was when he was young, he was in a band called Brainsore. So oh god, I thought it might have been the same one.
Oh wow, no, that's a weird name to have 2 bands.
I know, right?
Same with Thrall. With Thrall too, it's like, oh, if we do Thrall again, there's some fucking Australian Thrall band that's like a metal band or something like that. So I guess we had to do something.
So, mate, this is the first LP in 30 years. Like, why did it take so long for As Above, So Below?
Oh my God. Well, I did like 5 albums since the last God Bully record. Like three Thrall records, of Brainstorm, and They Never Sleep. And like I said, the time I just felt like I could name this band or go with any one of those bands to redo this now. And I just felt God Bullies is just the band that really fits the times as far as what I was saying back then and what I'm saying now. The funny thing with Thrall is Karen's like a devout Christian, the bass player, Karen Neal, Queen Bee. And so if you, the Thrall lyrics don't have very much that is really poking fun of my favorite Target. And so it's kind of good to have that Target back up again. So, and I think you can tell from some of the songs on As Above, So Below, there's a clear enemy.
I think I kind of diving into noise rock over the last few years. It randomly started when Committed by Unsane came up, just randomly popped up on Spotify, and I was like, what the fuck is this? This is amazing. Because
Unsane is fantastic. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of grindcore, and so normal rock music as a genre never hugely interested me. And then I started diving into noise rock, and I loved the rawness of it, like that aesthetic of that unpolishedness of grindcore was just it
Right.
was essentially just slowed down, you
Yeah.
know. And yeah, bands like Unsane and Today Is the Day, and yeah, it's just absolutely blew my mind.
Cows is another. I mean, really. I mean, if it. I mean, I think Cows are one of the best grinding type bands that there was of that era. I mean, they could just write out a riff. Kevin Rapmanis is a fantastic bass player. He played it like in Tomahawk, I think, or he played with Mike Patton for a while. He played in with Buzzo for a while in Melvins, and as well as the Cows. But I mean, we did a European tour with them. We did several U.S. tours with them, and yeah. Just watching Kevin Rapmanis play the bass is a whole new weapon. You know, just in his hands, it's a just to watch him like tune down to D while he's playing, and then coming back up and stretching the strings. Just amazing musician. But
Oh,
yeah, I would say Cows as far as grindcores. I mean, they're it as far as I'm concerned. You know, but there were so many good bands out of that time period. You know, I mean, I don't know. Are you talking like a Tar, who kind of kept a nice heavy middle sound, and you know the rhythm kind of didn't. There was not a lot of leads. It was just like the rhythm guitar. The guitar stuck with the rhythm section and just
mm,
kind of drove it like Helmet.
mm. Oh, Helmet are one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. Like right before we did this interview, I noticed the label Amphetamine Reptile kept coming up in the press release. I'm like, all right, so I've typed it into Spotify, and some lovely bloke has made this massive playlist of all these Amphetamine Reptile artists, and yeah,
Oh
Cow
wow.
is just all through there and all sorts of shit. And I'm like, I'm set.
Yeah, I mean, was good at picking bands back then. I mean, I thought we were kind of unusual for his label just because we were kind of a lot of his bands were three piece kind of power trios, and but hey, he's probably the best label I ever been on, and I've been on several since. So you know, Tom is knows his stuff.
Yeah. I learned the hard way not to listen to not to check out new band or bands that were new to me while I had kids in the car, because we were listening to I had Kill the King playing, and all of a sudden a track called Pretty on the Inside came on, and I was like, what hey kids, look over there, what's that?
It's a great story. I mean, you know, it's a story of almost happens every night in some city in America in a way. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, at the time when that song was written, we just came off a West Coast tour, and I didn't. I was with some other people once we got to LA, but the band was hanging out with Courtney the whole damn time, and just the things she said. And then when I got around the things she said, and then we played a show in Germany with Hole, and then another one in Kalamazoo, and Courtney literally broke almost a whole case of Bud White glass bottles in the dressing room. Because, I mean, I think the crowd, it was in Kalamazoo where we're from, and they were opening for us, and they wanted to see the Bullies. So they're doing like, God Bullies, God Bullies. I guess it pissed her off. And she got glass in David's girlfriend eye from flying up, and, you know, just she was so pissed off. And just the things she said, it was just, she's a mean person. Just mean.
Yeah, it's
So, but anyway, so I kind of, and that's kind of about a relationship with just people that use people both ways, and you know, kind of early, I had a few girlfriends that worked in like adult entertainment, and you know, the reason why they did it was always like a tragic story, and then their customers were the same tragic story they had in their life, but they were someone else's dad, and they're dancing on their laps, So it just, it's almost sickening. It's white slavery, whatever you want to call it, but
does it blow your mind a bit that, when I was growing up, and I'm sure for you as well, from what you were just saying, if you ended up in porn, something had gone wrong. Like that was not something that you
back
aspired
then,
to.
but it's an industry now,
Right?
but
Who
there's
the
got to be
hell
some
would
type of
think?
brainwash in it. There's got, I mean, I would, I could
Yeah,
never do something like that,
right.
or
I have
anything
friends that
close.
do OnlyFans, and I help them, shoot promo images and stuff. But it blows my, and I'm very much of the whole like, hey, if you want to do that, do it. But it blows my mind that something that was used to be seen as fundamentally anti-women, like the porn
Right.
industry and stuff, is
Yeah.
now kind of being remolded as this sign of, oh, it's empower, as this is empowerment, and that.
Yeah, I think it's more become an industry, and with anything comes an industry, then comes the brainwash, and then getting the young minds to actually to get into that industry, what you have to do to a person's psychology to actually think it's okay to perform in front of the cameras, a loving act that's supposed to be a loving act. I mean, it, you know, the best thing about love and hate is that love is usually you're made from, and hate is something you're taught. So I mean, you're not two people fuck usually for those few minutes they loved each other, with the exception of rape and incest and all the other crap. But usually, maybe 90% of it's like they loved each other long enough to fuck.
Mm.
And so it was an act of love that kind of created, who your essence and being. And then whatever happens after that is brainwash. And pretty much, unless you're living in a nurtured family and I don't know. I was a dad for 3 years. I try to be there for my kids for all their needs, and that's kind of another reason why I'm going back out, because the kids have all grown up now. So the birds are out of the nest. But
Mm.
to be a parent is so fucking hard, and then half the kids are divorced. I come from a divorced family. It was terrible. Um, I just think it's a breakdown of our psychology to make us slaves. I think all of that stuff is just mind control. It's to remove and replace, remove your spirituality, take it outside of your body and put it out here where it can be controlled. Because if your spirituality stays inside and is inside of you, they can't fuck with you at all, because you have control. But as soon as you start giving away that control, regardless if it's through drugs or, porn, or, I mean, you name it, religion, Christianity, once you start giving control of it, you've lost control. And I think that's what's wrong with us. We don't look inside ourselves enough to say, the new album has a song "I Am Mighty" on it, and it's just like, fuck, man, look at the turmoil civilization has gone through for thousands and thousands of years, and you still have a genealogy going, I mean, look at those young guys in Ukraine and even Russia. Like 1 million soldiers have died, just young people, 20, 25 years old. That's their destiny. And because that didn't happen to us for whatever reason. I mean, I served 4 years in the Navy, another 3 years in the Air National Guard. But just I feel myself lucky to be alive. And there's been some really bad downtimes. I mean, my dad dropped me off in downtown Chicago. Said my stepmom doesn't want you back in the house when I was like 16. And I said, well, Dad, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, you got friends, don't you? Start there. So, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, yeah, I was really depressed at that time. I mean, I'm a 16-year-old kid. I got what's the few change in my pocket and start hitchhiking from downtown Chicago back out to the suburbs. I mean, the world can play some cruel tricks on you, and you never know what's coming. But I think just that fact that we're still surviving is enough to be alive, live for. You have to protect yourself.
100%.
There's some evil motherfuckers in this world.
Yeah, and we are. Yeah, despite everything, we are here. We have survived up until this point. Yeah.
Right. And to me, that's something to be proud of. It really is. Because, I mean, I could have, I'm sure at 16, I mean, I could probably say that I would like, didn't have any future, didn't know what the fuck I was going to do. I mean, actually, I joined the Navy because of it. I mean, I don't know. That's not a lot of options when you got to, when your only option is to get the fuck out of here by saying yes, sir, no, sir, for 4 fucking years, So, but yeah, I think we're just constantly being torn apart. It's Machiavellian all the way, divide and conquer, especially with here, what's going on in America. They're just totally trying to divide us so we can't unite and be one. And it's just terrible, the warfare. But it's nothing new. It's been going on for centuries. I mean, the magic that's going, I mean, to me, Donald Trump is kind of like Aleister Crowley. I don't agree about Aleister, but he kind of got set enough to get enough money from enough people to keep going. And if you take Crowley's magic and you put the internet behind it, you'll get a Donald Trump any day of the week. Some snake that will do the dirty work for him. But yeah, it's nothing new. It just keeps cycling back to us, and then we have to fight it off again and get back up and go,
Yeah. Yeah, man. Mike, this has been an incredible interview, man. Thank you very much for your time. I could literally talk to you all day, but we're going to get kicked off Zoom soon. So.
well, hey, do you like the new record?
I do. And I'm
good.
I am very keen to. It would be wonderful if you could make your way to Australia one day. I know it's a long way,
right?
But it would be great to see it,
dude. This business. I mean, it's a labor of love, man.
Yeah.
No, we've never been in it for money. I'm in it just because I love writing. I love hearing people's stories, and I love being able to retell those stories if I can. And I love when people say, "Mike, I know what the fuck you're talking about. That happened to me." And there's a couple songs on there that I think people say, "Yeah, man, I know where he's coming from. I was walking in those same fucking shoes." Yeah. So I'm glad you like it. I hope there's a story on there you can relate to. I like the song "As Above, So Below." There's some really good Bible stories on that song. So. And it is true too.
Yeah,
in Galatians, that is in Galatians. At the end of the song, Paul visits the Galatians, and they're doing that, and he's like, "What are you fucking doing to prove your love for Christ? I mean, come on, man." so read Galatians; it's all there. You must know your enemy. That's another song on there. But yeah, it's fun reading those stories, and then I'd love to read Galatians to my kids someday, right?
Here's a little bedtime story, kids.
Yes. That's why they do it to the children.
Stay mighty, my friend. Stay mighty.
Oh, yes, you too. Be proud and break. How old's your kid?
My Abby has just turned 10 today. So.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. I miss them. Every time I see a picture of my kids, I'm just like, what the fuck happened to them? They just, my son lives in New York now. He's a stand-up comedian. My daughter just graduated from the University of Michigan, and she's trying to get into film. And, they're out there trying to change the world.
I love it.
Yeah, just give her some direction. And I don't think I ever said no to my kids.
Yeah.
I let them find out for themselves. With a little, not too far, with a leash. But yeah, I think you get in trouble when you start saying, "No, you can't do that." Okay, go ahead, try it.
All right, mate. I got to get out of here. We're about to start cutting cake. I'll let you,
Thank
mate.
you, sir.
Talk to you soon.